Hey guys, sorry for the delay. We were trying to figure out how to get this hangout started here. Hold on 1 minute. Let me just click out with Andrea here. I was trying to figure out how to maneuver this hangout. But anyway, I'm here, and tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what not to do in wholesaling. We need to know what to do in wholesaling. I mean, it's always good to know the processes of what to do in wholesaling. But there's a lot of things that we need to know not to do, that you just absolutely do not do when you're wholesaling, because these are things that you okay, I'm sorry, these are things that you need to know not to do. I mean, there are things not to do that can get you really caught up and set you off course when you're wholesaling. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing awesome tonight. I hope everybody's having some good weather for a change. I know here on the East Coast we've been suffering with some snow, but it's all melted now, and now we've got some water issues to deal with, but the sun is shining. It's a good day. I hope everybody had a great day today. So let me get started because we're running a little bit late. Okay, so the first things that I want to talk about in what not to do in wholesaling, okay, I want to stress these things. There's 5 things that I want to show you, even though there's a lot more than that you'll learn as you go along. These are the 5 things that I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn these things and what not to do in wholesaling the hard way by suffering the consequences of doing them. So you're getting a way out here by me teaching you this ahead of time. The first thing that I want to tell you, just that you never ever do in wholesaling, and I just want to bring this along a little bit because we are running late, is that first things first, you never negotiate with an unmotivated seller. If the seller is not motivated, meaning they are not willing to listen to your offer, they are not willing to negotiate on the price, they want this price, that's it. You can't create a motivated seller. A motivated seller has to be motivated for reasons like, divorce, facing foreclosure, maybe a job loss. That all creates motivation in a seller. You can't create a motivated seller. So no matter how much you negotiate with that seller, you cannot make them motivated. It's just absolutely impossible. If you're dealing with an unmotivated seller who will not negotiate on the price, is not willing to meet you where you are, you need to walk away from that deal. Because if you don't get that deal for the price that you have to get that deal for to make it a wholesale deal, you're going to end up putting it under contract and then not being able to sell that deal. And you're going to be stuck wasting all of that time, trying to put that deal out there. So again, do not even deal with an unmotivated seller. You need to walk away from them and then go back to them in like 30 days to see where they are. Offer still stands. This is where I am. Where are you as far as the price on your property? So check back in with them after 30 days to see if their motivation level has changed a little bit. If not, you need to walk away from the deal. The second thing is, never be the one that offers the first offer. You never want to make the first offer first. It's an absolute no-no. The seller might say to you, okay, well, what are you willing to pay me for the property? Always throw it back on the seller and say, no, what are you looking to get from the property? Because there's an old saying that says, he who names the first price loses, and you do. Because what if you offer $50,000 for a property and the seller was thinking in their head that they'd take 40 for it? Well, you just offered 50 for it, so you just outbid yourself. So you never, ever want to make the first offer on a property. You always want to put that ball in the seller's court to give you what they want for the property, and then you negotiate it from there. Because if you tell them what you're willing to pay, that's what they're going to, that's what they're going to negotiate from. And they could have been thinking of a lower price or a much lower price, and you could be beating yourself out of some money. So you never want to name the first price on a property. So when you call a seller and you're talking to a seller, and you just say, look, what are you looking to sell the property for? What are you looking to get for the property? Have them give you that price first. They're going to turn it around and they might say, okay, well, what are you willing to pay me for it? Don't let that happen. You always want to get them to make the first price, the first offer, and then you negotiate from there. Because again, you could be really over offering yourself because you don't really know the price that seller has in their mind. That has happened to me. I've actually had a property when I first started in this. My feet were still wet, and I went ahead and I said, look, this is what I'll give you for the property. Little to know, the seller just kind of smiled at me, and I'm like, what are you smiling at? And she was like, well, I was going to take 30 for the property. I had offered her 50. So I kind of outbid myself and lost a lot of money on that deal. And that's when I learned that lesson of never giving the first price on a property. So again, you know, just make sure that you always put that ball back in the seller's court. Ask them what they want for the property. Don't go for what do you want to pay me for the property. Say, no, I want you to be satisfied. I want to know how much you want for this property. So always put it back on the seller to give you that first price first. So another thing is, when you're looking at a property with a seller, and I made this mistake. Okay, you're going through the property, you're looking at the property. You're going to make the seller an offer. Now you're going through the property and you know that that property is like falling down around them. It's very outdated. Maybe it's an estate. They've been there a long time and it really needs a lot of work. But don't tell the seller that. I made this mistake a long time ago. When you're going through a property with a seller, remember that's their house. And especially if it's an estate sale, that property is like everything to them. They're so proud of the work that they've done in there. They're proud of the property. They don't see it the way that you do. They don't see the property as needing work. They don't see it as outdated. That's the stuff they put in the house. So they're proud of it. So you have to be really careful when you're negotiating with a seller and telling them that their property needs work, because you could really be turning them off from working with you. You know, it's kind of like telling a fat person they need to go on a diet. You're offending them. You can't do that. You know, you work around it and you kind of say, you know what? You know in your head the house is butt ugly. You know in your head that this place needs work. You know, as you're going through it, you're looking at, you know, the stains on the ceilings. You're looking at the big flowers on the walls. You're looking at the green and red shag carpet. That's all. You know that this property is like a total gut. You've got to put a lot of money into it. Don't say that to the seller. What you want to tell the seller when you make your offer, the reason why I'm discounting, the reason why this offer is so low, the reason why I'm discounting this offer is because I need to put things in here that are going to sell on today's market. You never want to say, I need to rehab this place, tear out these shag carpets, get rid of these flowers. Let them know their house is beautiful. Your house is gorgeous. I love your property, but there's some things that today's sellers are looking for in today's market. So I've got to give you this offer because I'm going to have to put out some money to kind of put the things in this property to be able to resell it to today's buyers. You know, they're looking for a certain neutral tone. They're looking for stainless steel appliances, which you don't have. So I'm going to have to go ahead and put them in here. So kind of turn it around a little bit. And instead of telling them that their house needs work or you're discounting it because it needs a rehab and you got to put all this money into it, and, you know, don't tell them that. You want to stay on their good side. So you want to make sure that when you're talking to them, that you're really, you know, letting them know, you know, this is why I have to do it, because today's market, these people aren't going to buy properties with this color carpet, and I need to flip that out. And, you know, I need to do a couple things to your property, even though you know how the house is just totally falling apart. Just make it sound like it's the most beautiful property you've ever walked into. Stay on their good side, because I actually had a seller when I first started in this. I mean, I was new, okay, and the house was ugly. It was an ugly house, and when I'm walking through it, it really needed a lot of work. It was an estate property, and when I tell you flower wallpaper, it was like bright green and neon yellow. It was all over the place, but this person loved this wallpaper. And here I am going through it, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm actually saying out loud, oh, well, this wallpaper has to go, and the seller actually asked me to leave. So I was actually in a position where I learned my lesson the hard way to try to stay on their good side, never tell them that the property needs work, make it sound like it's the palace that you've been in and you love it and it's the best house you've ever seen. But you have to put some money into it so that today's buyers will buy it. Okay, make it sound like, you know, you have to do certain things to it. You're going to have to invest in it. So this is my offer because of the things that I have to put in the property to make it sell in today's market. So don't make it sound like it needs all this work and all this rehab. Just kind of like make it sound like you have to do some things to it. So again, when you're making an offer to the seller, you know, the first thing is don't deal with a unmotivated seller at all. Walk away from it, because you're never going to create a motivated seller. You cannot create a motivated seller. Only situations and circumstances can create motivated sellers. You can't negotiate with them and make them motivated. It's not going to happen. So if they're not motivated to reach your price, do not negotiate on that property. Instead, walk away, save yourself the time and headaches, and then maybe check back with them in 30 days and see where they are. You know, give them a call, ask them if they're still willing to sell. Are they considering your offer? You know, don't work with them if they're not motivated. The second thing is, you know, do not make the first offer, because if you make the first offer on a property, you could be outbidding yourself. The third thing is, don't let the seller know that their property needs work. Okay. You're going to kind of go around that a little bit when you're making your offer. Like, this is my offer on the property. Well, first you're going to ask them, what is it that you want for the property? And then you're going to negotiate from there. And you say, well, I know this is what you want, but this is what I have to do. I have to do these things so that it'll market to some buyers. I've got to put some things in here. So I'm going to have to go down on the price a little bit because I've got to put some things in here to help me sell it. And, negotiate from there, but make it sound like you're negotiating it because you've got to make it market to today's sellers and not the house is a total disaster, even if it is. Another thing that you need to do, okay, this is tip number 4, is you never want to give out the property address until you have a signed purchase agreement between you and the buyer and the seller. You need to have a purchase agreement in place first before you even tell anybody that you have this property, before you even mention to anybody the address of this property. You need to make sure that you have full control of this property. You need to make sure that you have a signed purchase agreement, that the seller has agreed to your price. You have a purchase agreement in place. You have that property under contract between you and that seller. Because let me tell you something, Joe Schmo, if you tell him the address, 123 Main Street, without having a contract, I guarantee you that Joe Schmo is going to go knocking on her door and try to negotiate that property because you don't have it under control, so he can do that. He can actually go around you, and trust me, people will go around you in this market. He can go around you, negotiate with that seller, and put that property under contract himself and not have to go through you and not have to pay you a wholesale fee. So you need to make sure before you give that property address to Joe Schmo, you need to make sure that you have total control of this property first. You've got a purchase agreement in place between you and the seller. It's at least a 30-day agreement to where the seller cannot negotiate another price on that property for at least 30 days because you already have a contract on that property. So then after you have that, then it's okay to call Joe Schmo and say, look, I have a property for you at 123 Main Street. If you're interested, this is what I'm asking. Because even if Joe Schmo went and banged that seller's door down and begged that seller to sell him the property, she can't because she's under contract with you. Okay. And once you have a contract on a property, you can go ahead and market it wherever you want because you have legal interest in that property. So once you have a purchase agreement with that seller and you have that property under contract, you can fly a blimp over New York if you want to with the property address on it and tell everybody you have this property for sale. Nobody can stop you from doing that because you have equitable interest in the property. So again, before you market the property and before you go buying your blimp to throw over New York City, make sure you have a purchase agreement on that property. Make sure you have full control of that property. Do not give out the property address until you have a purchase agreement. I've seen many people want to hurry up. They're negotiating this great deal and they want to hurry up and tell their buyers about it, but they do so before they even have a contract. And I have seen a lot of people go around people, including myself. Not that I went around anybody, but I've had a lot of people go around me to the property owners. So I had to learn the hard way to make sure that I have a firm contract on 123 Main Street before I introduce Joe Schmo to this house. I will make sure that my contracts are complete and concrete before you even get the address, before you get the street or city of that property. I will make sure that I have everything in place. So you need to make sure that you have absolute complete control over this property by having a purchase agreement. Don't give out the property address and do not market it anywhere until you have the property. Now, a way to go around that, you can, I mean, there are things you can do, which I've seen people do and I've done before, but I don't like to do it, is sometimes if you're negotiating a property and you really want to let this buyer know that you're negotiating this property, but you don't want to give them the address. So sometimes what I've seen people do is XXX the address and just give them the street and the city. Say, look, I have this property at XXX Main Street that, I think you'll be interested in. Let me know. So there is a way that you can market it, but just don't give them the house numbers. Don't give them the property address because they can go around you. But a lot of times if you exit out, say Main Street is a huge street, they're never going to know which property you're talking about. So you could go ahead and give them, the location and the city without actually giving them the address. Because trust me, in this business, people will go around you. They will do what they have to do to survive. And this business is survival of the fittest. So absolutely. I think wholesaling is one of the most ruthless businesses that I've ever been in. because there are wholesalers, not moi, but there are wholesalers out there that are looking for themselves, and they really don't care if they walk over you in the process. So you need to make sure that you have your contracts in place. You need to make sure that you have, you know, your details, your T's crossed, your I's dotted before you go ahead and introduce a property out there. And like I said, once you have a property under contract, you can market it anywhere you want to. You can put it on Postlets, you can put it on Craigslist, wherever you want to do it, but make sure you have a contract on that property first. And these are all things that I had to learn the hard way in wholesaling. I mean, these are things that I had to learn by going through the process and kind of getting burned a little bit before I actually wised up a little bit. And now I do things right. So again, the first thing is you don't negotiate with a non-motivated seller. You just don't. You can't create motivation. The second thing is that you do not make the first offer. Always, always, always let the seller make the first offer, or you could be outbidding yourself. The third thing is that you never tell a seller that the property needs work. You need to go around it and kind of tell them other things, but just don't tell them that the property needs work when you're negotiating the price. You know, make it sound like you have to do things to the property that will make it sellable to the end buyers. The next thing is you never, ever want to market a property unless you have full control of that property. Unless you have it under contract, do not send an email. Do not even tell other wholesalers about it. Don't tell anybody about that property until you have it under contract and you have it under control. Because, again, you could really, really lose the property to somebody else that goes and knocks on their door and negotiates it. So, you know, these are just 5 things that I had to learn as I went through the process for wholesaling that I had to learn myself the hard way to make sure that I never did. Because if you do these things, you are definitely going to, you know, you're going to burn yourself, you know, in the process of wholesaling. So I'm going to go to some questions here to see if we have any in the DG. I don't want to disconnect you. So I'm very, not new at this, but I'm not as smart at this as I should be. Let me see if I can find you guys here. Hold on. Let me see if I can get to you guys and see where you are so I can answer some questions without disconnecting myself. Okay. I don't know if I can. How do I get there? You are. Wait a minute. No. All right, guys, I don't even know how to get to you guys. Hold on. Let's see if I can find you guys here. Ah, I found you. See if I can find all right, let me see. Okay, can you guys, if you guys can still see me, just type in there that you can still see me, because I want to make sure that I didn't kind of lose you guys in the process of this. So can somebody just let me know if you can still see me or not? Please. Ah, okay. Okay, so they want to know what the 5th thing. I thought I did 5 things for you guys. So I'm sorry. The first one was never negotiate with an unmotivated seller. The second one was don't be the one to make the first offer. I see everybody sees me. That's awesome. Don't be the one to make the first offer is number 2. People are still typing. They can see me. I'm glad you can see me. I know. Okay. I wish I could see your faces too. That would be so awesome. Okay. So again, the first one is never negotiate with a non-motivated seller. The second one is, yes, we cannot. Okay. The second one is to never be the one to make the first offer. The third one was do not give out the property address. Yeah, the backdrop, Andy, is actually because I'm hiding in my daughter's room because it was the only quiet spot. So that's where I am, and her room is all Aztec American Indian. So everywhere you go in here, there's blankets. Okay, so the first one was never negotiate with a non-motivated seller. The second one was never make the first offer. The third one was to never give out the property address, okay, to your buyer. That was the third one. The fourth one was never market a property anywhere until you have a full contract. So there were two things there that might have mixed you up. The first one was do not give out the property address to your buyers. The second one was do not market a property without having a contract. So that was the two of them. The fifth one was, what was the fifth one? Oh, the other one was don't tell a seller that the property needs work. So it was never negotiate with a non-motivated seller. Never make the first offer. Never tell the seller the property needs work. Never market your property until you have a contract, and never give out the property address until you go. Everybody's laughing. Why are you guys laughing? Okay. No, you do not have to. No, Jennifer, listen. You do not have to purchase the property before you can do any wholesaling. In wholesaling, we never buy the property, okay? What we're doing is we're negotiating the price with the seller, and we're putting the property under what's called a purchase agreement to purchase the property. But as you're wholesaling, you're not purchasing the property. What you're doing is you're going to sell your agreement to purchase to another buyer who's going to then take your place in the purchase. So you're not buying the property. You're just making the seller commit to a certain price that you're willing to pay for the property. You're putting it under contract as the buyer, but you're not going to buy the property. In wholesaling, what you're going to do is you're going to sell that contract to a buyer. You're going to assign that contract. You're going to assign your buyer position over to another buyer who's then going to purchase the property, and you're going to get paid in the middle. Do you understand that, Jennifer? I just need to know that you kind of got that. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand the question. Is there a way to do an agreement without a fee? I really don't understand that. So if you can kind of elaborate on that a little bit, I would be glad to answer that. So if you could just elaborate a little bit on that, I'd be glad to answer that on is there a way to do it without a fee? Do you have to put any money down on the purchase agreement? It depends. Believe it or not, most of the time I don't. I'll put $1 down. I know that sounds really strange. When I negotiate a property with a seller, I don't put any money down. When I directly negotiate a property with a seller, I don't put money down on that property. But when I negotiate a property, let's say a bank has an REO for sale, okay? Banks a lot of times want money down with the purchase agreement. So you know what? I'll give them, the most that I'm going to give this bank is $100. So a lot of times, because I bought, I shouldn't say bought, I put so many properties under contract that have closed that I can get away with a $100 deposit. But most of the time when you're directly negotiating with a seller, no, you don't put any money down. You can kind of negotiate that in. And even if you did have to put money down, sometimes what you can put in the contract, and this is a whole different chat, but sometimes in the contract, what you can put in there is, you know, deposit due in 14 days. Let's say it's a $100 deposit and you don't have $100. You can say deposit will be paid in 14 days. That gives you 14 days, or I should say deposit will be paid after a 14-day inspection period. And like I said, that's a whole different chat. But a lot of times what you can do is after 14 days, you should have a buyer in place for that property. And at that time, you can get your deposit from the buyer to put down on that property. So there's other ways to do that, but I don't want to confuse this chat with that. You can look in the Insider Elite on the top, you know, there's Contributors Corner. I have a lot of posts in there where I kind of clarify a lot of these things that are being asked. So if you want to go ahead, or you can send me a message here in IE, and I would definitely be glad to answer that question. Okay, to get a house under contract, you have to put money down. That's what I just went ahead and said. You know, it all depends on who you're negotiating with. To put a house under contract, you have to put money down. Not always. With my private sellers, I don't put money down. With the banks, I put at least, there's some I put $1 down with, but that's a whole other chat. But I do put like $100 down on my contract. So it all depends on the seller that you're negotiating with. And there are things that you can get around in your contracts to where you have time to get that money together. So a lot of times, if you have a buyer in place, they can go ahead and pay that deposit for you. So again, that's another chat. And if you want to look into some of my posts in the contributor corner up top, go into my post, you're going to see a lot of these questions are covered. Or you can go ahead and post this question on IE, Ask the Experts. You can ask me that question. I'll be glad to go ahead and answer it for you. Okay, can you partner with the seller and find a buyer for him so that you can make money? That's not the object. What you want to do is you want to be the buyer with the seller. What you want to do when you're negotiating a property with a seller, you want to put yourself in the position of the buyer. You put that property under contract as the buyer with that seller, and then you want to be the one that finds the end buyer. You want to wholesale that property to the end buyer. So in reality, you want to make that fee to yourself, and that's what wholesaling is all about. It's about negotiating, putting a property under contract, and then you go ahead and find the buyer for that property. So you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it with the seller. You don't want to partner with the seller. You want to put that property under contract with the seller and then go ahead and find a buyer for that property. Okay. Carol, do you always bid 0.70 times ARV, even in a fast-moving market? Kelly, no. In New Jersey, believe it or not, we are up to 0.85 times ARV. And that's because the market here is so thick with foreclosures that we're actually, when we put bids in, we have to bid higher now because we're actually getting outbid by the buyers here because they're so desperate for properties. So no, 0.70, no, you have to be able to amend that and kind of negotiate that to wherever your market is. You know where your market is. So if you're not getting any bids accepted at 0.70, you may have to go up to 0.75 or 0.80 in order to get your bids accepted. What is your rule of thumb when you put bids on REOs? I'm not sure I understand that question. My rule of thumb when I put bids on REOs, I'm not really sure what you're asking, but when I bid on my properties, I always follow a certain formula and I never distract from it. And my formula is always going to be ARV times, it's generally 0.70 in other markets, but in New Jersey it's 0.85. But it's ARV times 0.70 minus rehab costs minus your fee equals your offer. Always follow that same formula and you'll never go wrong. I never change my formula when I put offers on my properties. Okay, just to repeat, how do you deal with a seller who goes around you with another buyer or your buyer, even though they have a contract with you? Okay, Andy, now here's what you can do now. Even though they have a contract in place with you, they can still go around you with another buyer, which is why a lot of times what a lot of wholesalers do and what I do in certain markets is as soon as I get a purchase agreement in place with a seller, I go ahead and file that in public records because then it clouds the title and nobody else can ever purchase that property besides me, until my 30 days runs out. So there are ways to what's called cloud the title with your contract. And again, you can go ahead and look in your local market to see how you can do that. But what I'll do is a lot of times, sometimes, not always, I'll go ahead and put a cloud on the title by filing. What I'll do is I'll record my purchase agreement with the seller down at the courthouse so that nobody else can go around me, especially if it's a really, really good deal. I didn't try to lose you, Kelly. I promise. I don't know what happened. My screen went black. Okay. When the market is so intense, can I wholesale or seller financing deals where an end buyer can save on hard money fees? And so, absolutely. If you can find seller financing deals, you can wholesale seller financing deals, which buyers love these because it limits the money that they have to put out. So you could absolutely wholesale seller finance deals. I've done a lot of them, and you're going to wholesale them real quick. As soon as you get them, your buyers are going to want them because it's less money they have to put out of their pocket. So absolutely, Charlie, you can definitely wholesale seller finance deals. I don't know if I missed anybody here. Let me see. Jeez, I'm so retarded with this thing. Hold on. I'm highlighting y'all. All right. All right. I don't know where we are. Okay. Anybody else have some questions for me? Craigslist appears to have a lot of wholesalers advertising their houses. Yeah, you think? I didn't mean that sarcastically, but yes, there are so many wholesalers on the wholesale bandwagon that deals are just flying here on the East Coast because there's so many people. But you got to remember, wholesaling is quick money, and there's so many people out of money that they're just trying to jump on the bandwagon to make the money. Okay, can or should we work with them? Okay. Should you work with wholesalers? Okay. Instead of going into that, there is a post in the IE section up here, contributor corner. I do have a post on what's called wholetailing. I call it wholetailing, where you wholesale another wholesaler's deal. Yes, you can do that, but you got to make sure you have the right contracts in place. So definitely, I want you to go ahead and see if you can find my post on wholetailing, and it's definitely going to help you with wholesaling another wholesaler's deal. I do it all the time, so it can be done, but you have to make sure that you have the right contracts in place. Okay. Wait a minute. I keep highlighting you people. What am I doing with this? I'm so funky with this thing. Okay. Marketing strategy have you had the best luck with? Now that depends on if you're marketing for buyers or sellers, or if you're marketing houses. So I need you to clarify the marketing strategies that you're talking about. But the best marketing strategies that I have the best luck with is definitely Craigslist. I mean, Craigslist is by far the hottest place to find buyers, sellers, and sell properties. My best approach for finding, what is my best approach for finding buyers? You know, it's funny because people ask me that. You know, I haven't had to look for buyers in 2 years. I have so many buyers on my buyers list that my properties don't last more than 2 days and they're done. But my best approach to finding buyers would be ghost ads. I don't know if you're familiar with ghost ads, but the best approach and where I found most of my buyers is by putting a ghost ad on Craigslist of a made-up property for sale. I know it sounds absolutely horrible. That was back when I was in my bad days, before I got to where I am. But you put a fake property on Craigslist. Just make it up. Make it sound like a banging deal. Put it on Craigslist and watch the buyers that go ahead and call you for this deal. And then when they do call you, just say, I'm so sorry, but that property is no longer available. But can I have your email address so that I can send you any new properties that come up? Believe it or not, it works. It does. It absolutely works. So I would say, and I do have a post on that too. So I would say definitely, you know, putting ghost ads on Craigslist is a great way to find buyers. You know, another way would be, you know, your mailings, getting the cash buyers list from your agent and then sending out the mailings is absolutely another good approach to finding buyers. Okay, where are we? Cheryl. When we get an offer locked up, do we use a rock bottom price we are selling it for, or do we have a markup price so we can give our buyer a discount? All our buyers were asking for discounts and then weren't interested because we couldn't lower it. Yes, absolutely. Cheryl, when you put a property under contract, say I put that property under contract for $50,000. Now, let's say I really want to make $7,000 on it. I really need to get 57, but I'm going to go ahead and market it for 65. As long as it makes sense. You can put it out there for a higher price and then make it sound like you're negotiating with the buyer and you're going to go ahead and discount it for them. Absolutely. No, you know, mark it up a little bit and then discount them down to where you need them to be at the 57. I mean, I do it all the time. So yes, you can do that. Oh, where am I? Jesus. Did I miss somebody? I don't know. This is so funny. Oh, there you are. Okay, just to repeat, how do you deal with a seller who goes around you? We did that, Andy. When the market is so intense, can I wholesale? Yes. You can wholesale or seller finance. I just want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out. Craigslist, you're right. When marketing strategy, okay, I did that. Title company. Okay. When you started out doing wholesaling, what was the first thing you did other than buying Dean's book? Ooh, that's a hard one. The first thing I did other than buying Dean's book, I kind of just went crazy. I dove into Dean's material is what I did. Everything that Dean had to offer. Now you got to remember, back when I started, yeah, I'm going back 7 years ago, all Dean had was books. So he didn't have all the stuff that he has now available for me. So the only thing that I had to really learn from was Dean himself, who was actually my walking mentor, and, you know, his books. So I just kept any education that Dean had, anything he wanted to teach me, anything that he had that he could offer me is what I took advantage of at that time. So back then, though, he didn't have like the videos that he has now, and the IE didn't exist. So none of that existed. So after I bought the book, then I went ahead and dove right into whatever else it was that Dean had available at that time. Okay, let's see where we are here. How can I get on your buyer's list, all of your markets? Jeff wants to be on my buyer's list. I wholesale in 12 states, Jeff, so I need to know which state you're looking for, and you can get on my buyer's list. So definitely, you know, you can also, you know, send me a message here if you want, and I can go ahead and take your information, and I can put you on my buyer's list. I'm actually in 12 states right now. I'm wholesaling in 12 states, and I do all East Coast states. I'm an East Coast girl. I'm a Philly girl. I like to stay on the East Coast. I'm from Philadelphia. I love New York, you know, New Jersey, Delaware. All the East Coast states is where I am, in all 12. So that's where I'm wholesaling at. So far, I had no luck with my bird dog ads in Craigslist, and people actually contacted me. I gave them instructions, what and how. Nobody gets back to me. I expect they find out what I wholesale or so. Do you disclose to them your business? Looking up the internet to figure out what I do. Well, you know, Charlie, for bird dogs, a lot of times the way that I found all my bird dogs is I posted a flyer at the campus of the local college. What I did is I put up a flyer that said, you know, college students, would you like to make some extra money? I posted that flyer on the college campus in their bulletin boards, and that's where I got a lot of my bird dogs. It wasn't really on Craigslist. It was actually in the college campuses. So maybe that can help you find some bird dogs in the local colleges, because college kids are always looking for ways to earn extra money while going to college. So this is a great opportunity for them. All right, Teresa. Andy, once you have a contract, they can't sell to another. Carol puts the sale and purchase agreement with the title company. Make sure they'll do an assignment. It's a binding contract. They can't go around you. Okay. Okay. Where am I? When you're looking for a product. Tosh Marie says, I am trying to figure out the first steps. When you are looking for a property, should you be running a title search and bringing in a general contractor so you know the cost of repairs? If so, I just lost you. If so, should that be done before or after you market? Or I do not, if I say this, where did you go? Okay. Where did you go? I lost you. So retarded at this. Hold on. Okay. I do not run a title search on my wholesale properties because a title search costs $125. I'm not running a title search on my wholesale properties because if I can't wholesale that property or something happens and the seller gets a little funky on me, I just put out $125 for what? What I do instead is I hold on to that contract until my 14-day inspection period is over, until I find a buyer. And then I allow the buyer to go ahead and run the title search. I don't do that myself before I put a property under contract. And as far as the general contractor goes, as long as you know one that'll go in there and give you an estimate of repairs, that's fine. But you can also do that yourself. R.S. Meads has a book. The 2015 R.S. Meads Home Remodeling book is available on Amazon. It's like $35 where you can look up, you can go through a property, and in R.S. Meads book, it'll show you how much it costs to replace that, how much the demo is going to be. You can go and figure out your own rehab costs with this book. It's R.S. MEADS or MEANS, something like that. It means contract. I have it on my, it's on my website. realwholesaling.com. I have a website, realwholesaling.com. You can go on there and you're going to see the RS Means book. That's really, really going to help you go ahead and figure out the rehab costs of a property. Or if you know a contractor, it's always good to have one go through for you. All right, where are we? How do you tell authentic buyers from those talking a good talk? But when the closing, okay. How do you tell an authentic buyers from those talking a good talk, but when the closing day comes, they cannot close? Okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to have buyers, and then you're going to have tire kickers. It's just the way of the world. But what I do, when I have a buyer interested in my property, I don't let him pull my strings. When I have a buyer that's interested in a property, I have him, once he signs my purchase agreement or my assignment contract to buy that property, I have him give me a proof of funds, knowing that he has the funds. He's got to give me a legit proof of funds from a bank that I can call and verify. So I want to know that he can close. So the only way to tell the tire kickers from the real buyers is to ask for a proof of funds. Ask him to give you a proof of funds that proves that he has the money to purchase the property. That's how you're going to weed out the tire kickers from the real buyers. Yes, Kelly, I still do 0.97 for the closing costs in my formula. Yes, that's 3% closing cost is usually pretty standard across the states. Andy, I see that you have some questions. You have my number. Text me, call me, ask me, email me. I'll be glad to help you out. So you can do that, after the chat. RS Means Contract and Price Guide. Yes, that's it, Derry. RS Means Contractor's Pricing Guide, Residential Repairs and Remodeling Costs 2015. That book is my Bible. We actually I have my own rehab company here in New Jersey, my husband and my boys. And we actually use that book when we figure out rehab costs on any properties. That book is a great book. To go ahead, get that book. It's like $35, I think. And if you buy that book, you can go through a property, come home, go through the book, and figure out the rehab cost yourself without even having to pay a contractor. Where do you get a purchase agreement? Are they on DG? Yes, they are on. They are in here in IE. They are on there. Underneath the contracts and forms, you're going to see purchase agreements. So yes, I believe my purchase agreement is actually in there with all the exit clauses that you need. So you can find any forms that you need up in IE contracts and forms section up here somewhere. You're going to find every contract that you need. The purchase agreement, your assignment contract, every contract that you need to put in place is going to be up there for you. So hopefully that'll help. Anybody else? We got like 7 minutes left, guys. We good? I hear crickets. Did everybody fall asleep? Jim says that we are in the position where you were when you started. How can we get you to mentor us? Jim, I really don't do private mentoring. Everything that I do through Dean and through his programs and through his teachings, unfortunately. The only thing that I could say, Jim, is to keep up with in here in IE. There's so much information in here. Dean's books, the information that's in here, keep up keep learning, keep gaining that knowledge, because that's exactly what I did when I started. I didn't have anybody to mentor me. I actually had to do this all myself and kind of, go through the books and go through everything that I could absorb. And here in IE, you have so much stuff for you in here to help you with. So I hope that you are all taking advantage of all the information here in IE, all the information that Dean provides. I mean, Dean is absolutely a super rock star when it comes to this stuff. He has provided more information for us that we can even digest. This man has went ahead, not only the daily wisdoms to keep us going, but you got deangraziosi.com, which is an absolutely wonderful forum to kind of connect people, like-minded people, people that are just starting, people that have already been there and done that, that are willing to help. That forum is by far the most impactful place that I've ever seen on the internet, deangraziosi.com. His books are phenomenal. You know, his training is unprecedented. It's the best training out there. So I just definitely encourage you to take advantage of everything that Dean has to offer. We're getting close. I'll answer one or two more. My website is realwholesaling.com. It's just a little website that I kind of put out there just to help you guys. It's free. It's information. It's all free. I just kind of try to help people along that need some information. Me, I love to play it forward. I'm just one of those people that love to play it forward and kind of pay it forward and help anybody that I can to obtain what I've obtained in my life. Okay, where do you find the properties? Where does ARV? ARV stands for, okay, ARV is average retail value. Average retail value. ARV is average retail value. It's kind of like what the house will sell for on the retail market today. All right, one more and I'm good, I think. Or you can do after repair value, yes. ARV can be after repair value, average retail value. So many people have different definitions for that. Okay. Okay, guys, I think everybody's kind of good to go. The book defined rehab costs is actually, if you scroll up, I believe somebody posted it right here. RS means Daryl actually posted it right here for you. Daryl, if you can post that again for everybody to see that contractor guide. That would be really helpful because people are kind of asking for it. So I'm going to have Daryl post that one more time here, if he will, so that you guys can see that the guide that I am talking about for the rehab costs. So if Daryl would go ahead and post that one more time, give you the name of that guide, that would really, there you go. I think Andy just posted it. Right here, Andy just posted RS means contractor price guide, residential repair and remodeling costs. You can find that on Amazon. It's like $35. The best buy you'll ever have because you can figure out the rehab cost of a property in like 20 minutes with this thing. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? We're going to clock out here. Dean's info. Okay, it says, can you repeat Dean's info? I'm thinking it's what I said. deangraziosi.com is an absolutely amazing website that you can go to. It's a great forum. You know, you have the IE Insider Elite right here that you're in with all this information. There's information everywhere. If you just Google Dean Graziosi, you're going to see it flooding the internet. This man is absolutely incredible. His real estate training is just unprecedented. Okay, would I recommend forming an LLC to get started? You don't really need an LLC to get started in wholesaling. You can form an LLC so that you can put offers in the name of the LLC, but really for wholesaling, you don't need one. But if you do want to get an LLC to get started, I suggest that you go to there's a LegalZoom.com. You can create an LLC at LegalZoom.com, and it's only like $300, and they let you break it down into payments for like $100 a month. So you can form an LLC for like $300 on LegalZoom.com to get started. If you just wanted an LLC to go ahead and put your offers in. Anybody else? Because I'm going to get ready to clock out. I can hear my new granddaughter upstairs crying. I have a new granddaughter. She's 8 weeks old now. She's getting really big. Her name is Maya. Absolutely beautiful, love of my life, and I can hear her now upstairs fussing. So Okay, so I think everybody's cool. Everybody's got what they need. Again, you can go up here into the contributor corners. I do have some posts in there on wholesaling. I've got a lot of posts up there on wholesaling. If you kind of scroll through them, I guarantee you're going to find some information that you're looking for. All the forms and documents that you need are going to be up here in the forms and documents section. I believe it's called the IE library up top. You know, let me see if that's exactly what it's called. I don't want to send you to the wrong place. You're going to go into product library, and then you're going to go into letters and docs, and you're going to see all of any contract that you need. Everything that you need is in there. Dean has absolutely packed this site with everything that you're ever going to need. Okay, I think everybody has everything. I think we are good. I am going to go ahead and check out. I hope that I answered most of your questions. I hope I got you started in wholesaling, taught you what not to do, and a little bit of what to do. So I do hope that, you know, this was a benefit to you, this chat, and I am sure I will see everybody in the next one. Thanks, guys. Good night. I hate leaving you guys, but I got to go. The baby's crying. Love you guys. Good night. I'll see you on the next chat. Thanks. Bye.